Welcome everybody. My name is Laura Scuderi. I'm the Executive Director of Bridge Community Health Clinic, and today I'm speaking to you as the Chair of the Marathon County AOD Partnership. It's been over 20 months since the AOD sounded the alarm on the issue of heroin and opiate addiction in Marathon County, but there's a new threat we need to pay attention to, and that's methamphetamine or meth. There's no doubt that the increased attention through popular TV shows like Breaking Bad and the continued availability in our community, it's a dangerous combination, and we need your help. Meth is a stimulant. It ramps up the body, which heightens the fight or flight impulse, making those who are high extremely volatile. And the complexity of treating meth addiction is at times daunting. There's no magic pill, there's no one-size-fits-all treatment. Majority of the time, those who are entering into recovery need to cut ties with family and friends who may be using or enabling their use. It's a huge step. So today, what we wanted to do is get some experts together to give you a sense of where we are in the community with our response to meth and meth addiction. So I'm going to welcome our first speaker, Lori Blanchard from North Central. Here.
Okay. Tripping would be a bad thing. Good morning. My name is Lori, and I work at North Central Healthcare, and I wear a couple hats. I have a small outpatient caseload in psychotherapy, mental health, and AOGA, as well as I work on the inpatient unit at times, and the piece I enjoy and like to get out there and do is the behavioral health community liaison piece, when I get to work with Melissa and a variety of community individuals in all three counties actually, providing preventative services for alcohol and drug. And it has really been, I think, good for schools and all of us involved here, especially here in Marathon County. When we look at addiction and treatment as it relates to methamphetamine, I'd like to tell you we treat that very differently than we treat any other addiction, but we really don't. There are several models out there that are used in order to treat addictions, and through some research that we've done at North Central Healthcare and some of the services that we've provided and continue to provide and update, we have found that the matrix model, which I'll explain to you just briefly, is one of the models that has been working and shows more success rate. We have done some studies on various models we've used for treatment for substance abuse. And what we're finding is if an individual's basic needs are not met, for that individual to really obtain success in any treatment is very, very difficult. If you think about not having transportation to get to the services you need, or worrying about where your next meal is coming from, not having a warm shelter to go to, it really does impact how you move through your course of treatment. The other piece that we don't want to forget is that support system that the individual requires in order to continue to move through addiction and treatment. And many times those support systems are lacking and or maybe gone due to the individual's use. That matrix model, it combines some behavioral educational programs. It's a 12-step counseling techniques. It's used in various types of treatment, such as relapse prevention groups, day treatment groups, and it has, out of some of the most research that we found, is one of the ones that can be effective. Depending on the severity or the severity of the addiction really does depend on where that individual goes for services. At North Central Healthcare, we use an assessment tool called the UPC. It's a universal assessment tool that we use from the state of Wisconsin, and that we score with an individual, and depending on where their score comes up depends on what type of services they need, be that residential, inpatient, AODA day treatment, or outpatient counseling. And sometimes it's actually a combination of several things that happens. We have found that the matrix model has retained more than 50% of the patients for clinically meaningful treatment. So we look at that and the success rates of that. Some of the treatment approaches, like I said earlier, models for cocaine and other substance users are equally effective. So methamphetamine users, we don't have a special pill to give someone to say, oh, you're a meth user, you're going to take this and you'll feel better. Or this type of treatment will definitely work for you. It's a collaborative approach, and it takes many, many people in that individual's life in order to move that person forward, away from using. When we talk about relapses, there's always the potential for relapse, and that's part of recovery. And so we continue to work through that with the individuals, and this relapse isn't just, 2 years after, this is ongoing. And the need for continual services for treatment is absolutely necessary for someone. Some of the treatment practices when we're working with methamphetamine users do require some modifications, and that's because of the cognitive deficits that we find in methamphetamine users. The tendency for the deficits to worsen in the early phase of recovery may need to be accommodated. Okay, so we have to remember that that's there. Because the impairment of the picture recognition is less severe than the impairment of the word recognition, some treatment programs have relied on visual cues in providing information to clients. Methamphetamine users in recovery are more likely to understand and remember handouts than include pictures. So that's one of those pieces that we accommodate and make changes to as the individual is in treatment. Another issue needs to be considered with a methamphetamine treatment is the general continual pattern of use. Understanding the pattern helps that treatment provider and substance user identify the circumstances and the triggers for that individual's relapse. Again, our research shows us, and from the information we have from studies we've done on our AODA day treatment groups and individuals in those groups, show that relapse is similar for any addiction. Okay, relapse rates. Some relapse rates can be as high as 50%. Some are higher. Again, it depends where the individual, how and where that individual has support. And I don't want to lose that piece, because having support for the individual as they're going through treatment is substantial, and it does matter in order for them to move into recovery. But like we've said, there is no pill that can be out there that can, help us or help an individual who is using this get through this. When using meth, we have to remember that some of the central nervous system pieces in an individual's body are affected. In small amounts, it increases their wakefulness, their physical activity, decreased appetite, rapid heart rate, breathing, irregular heart rates, high blood pressure, hypothermia. High overdoses elevate body temperature. Of course, they're very dangerous, sometimes lethal, and causes convulsions and cardiovascular collapse. So meth abuse may also cause extreme anorexia, memory loss, and severe dental problems. One thing I can tell you from real life pieces that I've worked on our inpatient unit is individuals who come in that have used or are currently using meth. The cognitive deficit piece has to be addressed immediately. It's very important that we understand that piece. And everybody on a team works together from different disciplines to address that cognitive deficit. So if the individual comes in on inpatient and they're suffering from meth use, we have occupational therapy involved. Okay, it's very important. We have the social workers are all involved. Of course, psychiatry is involved, nursing, and there's recollection and assessment tools that are used throughout a day to look at someone's cognitive deficits and or if it's improving and how long did it take for that deficit, for that individual to overcome that deficit. A quick little story of an individual. He was 17 and he came in from one of our outlying areas in Marathon County. Mom and Dad kept telling me, he's never used anything. He doesn't use anything. He's a good kid. He's graduated from high school. And I said, I believe you. He is a good kid. And we found out through testing and assessments and other things that he absolutely did use meth. And he used some meth and some other things that were laced with acid. And I remember on day 25 on inpatient unit, he still couldn't always tell me his first name. And that's the sad part. And the parents who come in and say, how come he can't tell us his name all the time? And that's that cognitive piece that we have to realize when we ingest any of these substances and meth, what it does to us inside. And it's so important for us to recognize that. Okay? With that, I will hand it over to Jessica.
All right, I am Jessica Blahnik, and I am the Marathon County Medical Examiner. Methamphetamine is a highly addictive and destructive substance that greatly impairs the judgment and decision-making abilities of those who use it. Could you imagine the effects that consuming acetone, which is nail polish remover or paint thinner, mixed with lithium from batteries, brake fluid, hydrochloric acid, which is used to make plastic, pseudoephedrine, which is a decongestant found in cold medicine, red phosphorus found in matchboxes, sodium hydroxide or lye that is used to liquefy roadkill, sulfuric acid commonly found in drain or toilet cleaner, lighter fluid, and lastly, anhydrous ammonia that is commonly found in fertilizer or countertop cleaner would have on your health, body function, mentation, and overall well-being. Well, these are the main ingredients found in methamphetamine. Essentially, meth is poison. The majority of these chemicals that are cooked to create meth are toxic, definitely not for human consumption. The scary part is that all of these chemicals and ingredients can easily be picked up at your local grocery stores or already in your home. There are also detailed instructional videos online on how to make it. Methamphetamine is starting to take over the community and health, well-being, and lives of those it encounters. People who use methamphetamines don't necessarily die from an overdose to the drug, but it can definitely result in death. Due to its powerful intoxication, meth can be a contributing factor to both intentional and accidental deaths, whether it's from suicide, overdoses, motor vehicle crashes, or injuries sustained from poor decisions. The first few methamphetamine-related deaths seen in Marathon County was in 2013, where we had 3 deaths. Of those deaths, 2 were ruled accidental overdoses, most likely from a cardiac dysrhythmia, and the other one was being from an impulsive suicide where the individual's judgment, coping abilities, and decision-making was greatly impaired. In 2014, there were 6 deaths that were related to methamphetamine. Of those deaths, 1 death was ruled accidental from injuries sustained after making a poor decision, 1 death was from a motor vehicle crash, 1 death was ruled accidental from an overdose with other substances present, and lastly, 3 were suicides, with all of them being impulsive in nature and the individual unable to make rational decisions. The ages of these individuals range from 18 to 56 years old, most of them being males. The majority, if not all of these deaths, may have been potentially prevented if the individual was not using methamphetamine. The main concern I see for the Marathon County community is that the number of methamphetamine-related deaths has doubled in 1 year, and prior to 2013, there have been no methamphetamine-related deaths to the best of my knowledge. What does this mean for the future health and well-being for the Marathon County community? These numbers are not only alarming, but these numbers do not even begin to describe the health problems of those who become victims of methamphetamine and all the toxins associated, and those who have sustained injuries from making poor decisions while under the influence. Methamphetamine is a dangerous, highly addictive, toxic substance. It is imperative that all facets of the community come together to address this issue. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Scott Parks, Sheriff of Marathon County. Think back to the first portion of Jessica's topic where she was talking about all the ingredients that are used to make methamphetamine. Those are all the ingredients that your parents taught you from little on not to ever consume in any fashion, and yet we mix them all together to make one product that's sole purpose is to get you high and kill you, methamphetamine. So let's talk about some of these statistics, because we're a statistical bunch, we're cops, right? 2013, 934 persons were booked into the Marathon County Jail for controlled substance violations. 2014, 1,237 persons were booked in for the same type of violations. In 2013, let me go back. So you take an average daily population of 297 in our facility. We house 50 somewhere outside the Marathon County area. It costs us about $50 a day to house an inmate. In 2014 alone, we spent over $3 million housing individuals for controlled substance violations. 2013, we had 54 persons who were booked for methamphetamine offenses such as manufacture, delivery, or possession with intent and possession. 2014, those numbers increased to 68 for the same type of offenses. And this is only one of the substances that are currently impacting Marathon County, because we're impacted by a number of other ones, but we're talking about meth today. So I decided to take a snapshot of our daily population for last Friday, January 23rd, 2015, just to see how many persons were in the Marathon County Jail for methamphetamine-related offenses. We had 22 persons who were in custody for manufacture or delivery of methamphetamine on that day. We had 5 persons who were in custody for simple possession of methamphetamine. And when I speak of in custody numbers, I'm not even talking about the crimes against persons, such as domestic violence, armed robbery, or aggravated battery, or crimes against property, such as burglary, theft, or criminal damage to property that are committed by these individuals either while they're under the influence or attempting to support a controlled substance habit. So I'm just talking about the simple drug offense, not everything else that goes along with it. It could be easily suggested that 75% of the crime that occurs within Marathon County is committed by individuals who are under the influence or trying to support a controlled substance habit. And that doesn't even touch the greatest thing that we've got in this community, and that's family. Family and children. Because each one of these persons has a family, and a lot of them are trying to be parents. I say try because it's difficult enough to be a good parent as it is. Now you throw out a controlled substance, and you really got some issues. I've been in homes where the parents have locked their children inside bedrooms, scattering food on the floor to keep the children occupied as they go about their daily activities of delivering controlled substances or using and abusing. And when I say locked in, the doors are locked so the children can't leave those bedrooms. When I talk to individuals, we were talking about the chemical that comes off these persons. I've had individuals that have been so overwhelmed by methamphetamine that as they sat in my patrol car, I actually had to have them get out because the chemicals were emitting off their body so strong they were burning my eyes. I saw a person that was a good friend of mine because I met him when I was working undercover, so he became a good friend. 2 years later, I saw the same individual. I would not have recognized him because his body had changed so drastically. I would not have known him until he actually produced a driver's license and swore that that's who he was. This product is going to kill you. So unless we work together, this problem is going to continue to impact the community, and we need to do something to give those children a chance. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Kyle Mayo. I'm an assistant district attorney here in Marathon County. I specialize in prosecuting the felony drug offenses for the county. Starting with some statistics, in 2002, the district attorney's office here had an average of 0.17 cases per month related to possession of methamphetamine. In 2013, that number grew to 7.8 cases per month. That's an increase of approximately 4,488%. Last year, the district attorney's office had approximately 130 cases where persons were charged with possession of methamphetamine. That number doesn't include the manufacture or delivery of methamphetamine or the possession of methamphetamine drug paraphernalia. And as Sheriff Parks indicated, it's not just the possession or the delivery of methamphetamine that's affecting this community. We've seen an increase in all types of crimes, property crimes, including retail thefts and major retail thefts of TVs and of approximately $500 and more have increased. Misdemeanor thefts from homes, from families, from parents in order to support their habit. Operating while impaired is a growing concern with methamphetamine. Burglary to support their habit, and child neglect. We've been working with the social services and with the Sheriff's Department on drug endangered children, trying to make sure that they get the services they need and are protected from parents who are using methamphetamine and other controlled substances and can't or won't take care of those kids. That's the future of our community that we need to be protecting. And we see an increase in all sorts of these drugs. Methamphetamine is one of the largest and has the most cases per month in the district attorney's office. It's highly addictive, and they will do almost anything in order to feed their habit. The trends are the methamphetamine is being trafficked in from the Twin Cities area to the Wausau area, and then being distributed out to persons both in the Marathon County and into the surrounding communities. So it's not just our community that's affected by this problem, it's the communities around us all over the state and particularly right around Marathon County. So I think this is a very important issue that the community needs to take a hold of and begin to address this issue so that we can protect the future of our county. Thank you.
Sorry. Good morning. Thank you for coming today. It's hard to believe that it's been nearly 21 months since I was standing in this very spot sounding the alarm on heroin and opiate addiction. We've come a long way since then, but I'm here to tell you we're not done. In February 2012, when we started the conversation around prescription drug abuse, local experts said we definitely need to be talking about this issue, but we can't forget about heroin. When we started talking about heroin in August of 2012, we heard the same thing. We need to talk about heroin, but we can't afford not to pay attention to meth. Well, it's here. Fact is, it's never left, but laid in wait until the increase in the demand became high. It's destroying lives, it's tearing families apart, it's time. We've learned and heard some great information from our fantastic panel today about the significant impact that meth has on not only individuals and families, but on the systems and community as a whole. Now, does that mean that everybody's doing it? Absolutely not. There's no doubt that alcohol is by far the #1 drug that's impacting our community, but this man-made menace has left its mark. Meth, ice, crank, crystal, glass, poor man's cocaine, whatever you want to call it, it's negatively impacting our community, and it's time to fight back. Through the great work of the AOD Partnership and their many partners, we've really moved the needle on community awareness around alcohol and drug abuse, but we're not done. We've been able to rally the community to not only invest their time to the cause, but to invest the much needed resources to look at the expansion of existing, as well as to look at creating new programs to get the people the help that they need, when they need it, and to make our community less appealing for drug dealers that are looking to set up shop. But again, we're not done. Heroin and opiates continue to plague our community, our families, friends, neighbors, but through our Pushback initiative, we're committed to continue to engage the community in this fight. We're all impacted and we all play part of the solution. Substance abuse is a seriously complex issue. As Lori said, there's no one-size-fits-all approach to this burden. Addiction is an equal opportunity employer. It doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, what you do, how much you make. To address this complex issue, we need to attack it from all sides, making the necessary resources available in prevention, treatment, enforcement, because not one agency can do it alone. We cannot arrest our way out of this problem. I encourage you to educate yourselves on drug abuse, including meth. I encourage you to talk to, not talk at, your children as to why you want them to make healthy choices. I encourage you not to forget those that are addicted to meth or are in recovery. They are people first. They are our family, they are our friends, they are our children, they are our godchildren. Whatever relationship they are to you, we need to remember these are people first. I encourage you to partner with local law enforcement and familiarize yourself as to how to identify possible drug activity. I encourage you to publicly support the expansion of new treatment programs, including much needed residential and inpatient detox centers, including as well the expansion of our treatment diversion programs, such as in creating a Marathon County drug court. And I encourage you to get involved in our Pushback initiative and to work with the AOD partnership. There's an opportunity next Tuesday, February 3rd from 11:30 to 1, where at our next regularly scheduled AOD partnership meeting, we're going to be welcoming in Special Agent Tammy Osberger from the Department of Criminal Investigations, which is under the Wisconsin Department of Justice, to continue this conversation. Much like we did with heroin, we know that there's so much more information out there on the trends in use, trafficking, and manufacturing of this highly addictive stimulant substance. As I said in my initial statement, we've accomplished a lot, but we're not done. It's time to take back our community. It's time to push back against drug abuse. Thank you.
Thank you. Wilson? All right. So we're going to move to have questions. Before we do that, I just want to extend a few thank yous. The first thank you is to the Dudley Tower for this beautiful location, to the Community Foundation of North Central Wisconsin for hosting us today, to the Judd S. Alexander and the Kinsey Green Marketing Group, who are the sources behind this initiative, the panel of speakers today, thank you for coming, the many AOD partnership supporters, our media partners are here, and members of the community are here, and thank you for embracing the work of the coalition through the Pushback Against Drug Abuse initiative. So I'd like to open it up for questions now. Yes?
I would just like to say I'm grateful to be here today. I'm an ex-meth addict in recovery. So
For coming.
Thank you.
I'm just thankful to be here today.
Thanks for being here.
Any questions? Okay, we have one back.
I didn't hear any of the panel discuss some of the waste products and what occurs when people are actually making this stuff to the property, you know, things like that.
Okay. Who would like the microphone on that?
If you want, I can talk about it. The Sheriff's Office has a clandestine lab team, and that team is basically set up similar to the Fire Department's hazmat team. So when you have laboratory type areas, not so much in Marathon County, we saw it more in the northern counties, where they were doing a lot of stuff on the outside, out in the public land or on some private lands. You have a lot of waste product that contaminates not only the soils, but the water, groundwater, and more. It's basically similar to having an EPA site, Environmental Protection Agency site. They have to come in and really take a look at it to see how much contamination there is and what the impact is to that particular area. We had a house that was in the metro area here that was manufacturing meth on a regular basis. We were able to execute warrants and shut that place down. It was in February, and there was a 2-liter bottle of soda lying outside in the snow. And as one of our clandestine team was moving up towards that house, he ended up kicking that kicking the snow and the 2-liter bottle. And it was amazing that as he just moved that, it started to bubble inside there as the chemicals started to rework, and it started to smoke, and it was in the cold. So these products are it's something else. So there's a lot of destruction, and you're right on. I mean, you start getting the DNR involved, the EPA, these dollar figures go up, and properties have been condemned just because of that.
Interesting fact about meth, the production of meth, is that for every pound of meth created, there are 5 or 6 pounds of hazardous waste that is created during the manufacturing process. Yes.
I had a question. What I worry about is, we've done pretty good in allocating resources for law enforcement, legal prosecution. We're working on treatment, but I don't hear much on prevention resources. And we all know how difficult it is to treat and to deal with the addiction when it's full blown. What do we do as a society from little on to do things? I think it's more than awareness. I think we have to have active programming starting when our children are very young that would do things to build them up, to give them credibility and confidence that they don't have to use mood or mind-altering substances to be complete. And so I worry that in our allocation of resources, we haven't done a very good job. Prevention many times gets the short end of the stick because we look at the immediate problem. But think 20 years from now, 30 years from now, are we going to still be fighting the same battles? Or are we going to create some system and policies that will adjust where kids have a better chance to grow up and not use drugs?
Okay.
If you look at the level of poverty in our community, increasing child poverty, there's a link between drug use and being poor. So I think we really have to wake up and start to look at that and do things actively to change things now.
Okay, excellent question about how we're doing for prevention, and Melissa can handle that one.
I was waiting, I was making notes. Absolutely, Ron, great comments. When you look at prevention, it's not like when you fill a pothole, you see the results right away. It's like building the infrastructure so you don't have to change the road in 10 years. So it's a long-term goal, and I kind of look at it as, I've said this analogy before, and some of you probably are sick of hearing it, but it's like the duck in the dirty pond analogy. We can take the kids out of these situations, clean them up, they'll thrive, they'll do well, and put them right back in the same situation, they're going to get dirty again. So we really need to look at how we can change the environment, how we can support people in recovery to continue their recovery. But when you look at prevention strategies, a lot of the times the answer is we need to get into schools and we need to talk to these kids and we need to target these parents. We cannot rely just on schools to fix our problems, just like we can't rely on law enforcement to fix our problems once it becomes an addiction or once people are selling. We need to, as a community, embrace the children of our community. We need to instill the values within them. If parents aren't able to do it, as adults in the community, we need to support our youth as they're going forward. So that's my comment. And we've got some strategies out there that we can employ through youth-serving organizations like Girl Scouts, Boys and Girl Scouts, Big Brothers, Big Sisters. There's the possibility for everybody in this room to become a mentor to an impressionable young teen or child.
Any other questions for our team of panelists here? Okay. All right, here we go. Oh, yeah, one more. Yes.
I have a question. As I just earned my release back into society on Friday, and I want to be a part of what I can do to, share my story of change and to help others. And I don't know, where do I start? I know starting here was a good start, but I would like to continue to do that because I know that's good for my recovery and hopefully to help change somebody else's lives as well.
Well, I'm sure that we have panelists here that would be interested to speak to you after, but does anybody want to speak to immediately how she can get involved?
Well,
Throw you the mic. Melissa might be the person. She's our glue.
Well, actually, it's exactly what you said, Christina. It's coming to be part of this group, to get involved in the AOB partnership. The great thing about our coalition is that it is made up of so many people that have so many different skills and talents where we may never see them at a meeting, but if we needed something specific done, they're able to do it. If we have we've got great media partners here. I'm sure there's follow-up things that you could do when you're comfortable. We do outreach to communities. We've distributed over 3,000 bags of materials, door to door. We do that as in a couple hours, to volunteer time, get some exercise. Hopefully it's not raining, that has happened. But you get a poncho and you're good to go. But there's opportunities to get involved. We've got people our partners going to the schools and speak to our youth. We've got persons working with law enforcement on how to get messages out, working with treatment. We definitely need advocates out there, both that are in recovery as well as those that are impacted by addiction. So we'd be happy to have you. Oh, and the easiest way to get involved, sign up for our weekly update. It's an electronic email. You can sign up right through our website. You can see what they look like. There's great fancy swanky pens out there. It's got a website on it. I invite you to check that out and get signed up for that right away.
Just want to touch on one thing. I can get up here and I can tell you all about the evils of meth. And I worked undercover for a number of years and saw it, but I never experienced it like you did. Who are they going to more relate to? Someone that walked in their shoes and overcame it, or some cop? You are going to make a difference in people's lives, and I applaud you for it. Actually, yeah, I was going to clap, but I don't have one.
Okay, any other questions for our panelists? All right, hearing none, some of our panelists will be available afterwards in case you have individual questions, but thank you everybody for coming out today, we appreciate it. And please sign up for the newsletter, and if you have questions, stick around. Thank you.
Thank you.